What if there was a single day, not carved in stone or written in bone, when the creatures that would one day call themselves human stopped simply surviving and started feeling? A day when the mind first looked inward, when a mother's tear mattered more than food, when the first spark of wonder burned in the dark. It wasn't the day we built fire. It was the day fire built us. This is that story, the day we became human. Welcome to Prehistoric Shadows, where the shadows of our ancestors still whisper who we are. Before we walked under stars, before we spoke or sang, we were just one of many clever animals. We fought, hunted, and survived by tooth, stone, and instinct. The world didn't notice us, a scattered species on a violent earth. But evolution is patient. It doesn't create in leaps. It stirs in whispers. And somewhere, maybe in the savannas of Africa or the river valleys of East Asia, one of those whispers became a thought. A hominin paused, not out of fear, but out of curiosity. She looked not only at the world, but into it. That pause was the birth of consciousness. It didn't roar like thunder. It was quiet, a flicker behind the eyes. And from that flicker, imagination was born. They began to dream before sleep, to plan before dawn, to see a shape in the clouds and think it looks like me. In that tiny neurological spark lay the first ember of art, empathy, and civilization. We didn't know it yet, but the silent divide between animal and human had begun to open, and we were standing on its edge. For millions of years, night meant terror. The darkness belonged to teeth and hunger, but then one evening, a new light burned against the void. Fire, a miracle of warmth and danger. It was not only a tool, it was a mirror that reflected back our awakening minds. Around it, the world changed. The wild became a circle of safety. The night became a stage for thought. Families huddled close, shadows dancing on stone. Hands gestured, voices rose and fell. The first stories were told, not written, not even spoken as language yet, but performed in grunts, signs, and rhythm. Every flame carried something else, memory. Because what began as survival, keep the fire alive, became a ritual, and ritual gave birth to remembrance. In those embers, humans discovered something profound. That warmth could outlast the day, and ideas could outlast the body. The fire burned through the dark, but it was memory that burned through time. Among the apes and predators of the ancient world, few species were more fragile than us. Our young were born helpless, our bodies slow, our claws useless. Yet somehow, we survived because we learned to protect what was weak. That was the beginning of love. Every early human child demanded a tribe's care, feeding, carrying, teaching. And in that long, exhausting effort, something astonishing took root. Compassion. Love became an evolutionary advantage. The mothers who nurtured, the fathers who stayed, the elders who guided their children survived longer. Empathy became heritable. The need to belong, to share, to soothe, became as real as hunger itself. And in that emotional alchemy, we changed the rules of survival. Nature had built us fragile, so we learned to build each other. From that tenderness came art, teaching, community, everything that would later make civilization possible. Because long before we built cities, we built relationships. And every hug, every song to a crying child, every hand that reached across the fire was another note in the ancient symphony of humanity. We didn't just evolve stronger minds, we evolved softer hearts. Then, one day, something happened that no animal had ever done. Someone dug a hole, and gently, they placed the body of a loved one inside. It was the first burial. It meant we could see death and still choose tenderness. To bury is to believe that something remains unseen, that the person mattered even when their breath had gone. Archaeologists still find traces, bones curled as if sleeping, a hand clutching a shell, ochre dust sprinkled like a final kiss. These were not random acts. They were the birth of meaning. The dead became more than bodies. They became stories. And the living carried those stories like invisible fire. In mourning, we became aware of time of past and future. That realization shaped everything that followed: religion, art, hope, fear. For once, we knew we would die. We began to live differently. We built culture from grief. We turned sorrow into purpose. That moment, the first tear shed for the dead, was the first proof that humanity had a soul. For countless generations, we gestured and grunted our way through life. But then, something miraculous happened inside the mouth and brain of an early human child. The ability to shape breath into meaning. Language was born. At first, it was rough, sharp bursts of sound, names for things, warnings of danger. But soon, it grew, and with it, so did we. Language didn't just let us speak, it let us share consciousness. Ideas could now leap from one brain to another, surviving even as bodies perished. A thought could travel across generations. A whisper turned into a civilization. We built worlds out of air. Through speech, we became architects of the invisible. We could plan hunts, recall seasons, imagine gods. We could tell our children who we were and what we had seen. Words turned memory into history. They gave shape to imagination, and imagination gave birth to destiny. Every poem, every law, every love letter is a descendant of those first syllables shouted across the savannah. Language didn't evolve to help us survive the world. It evolved to help us understand it. And through words, we began to see not only what was, but what could be. So when did we become human? Science can point to milestones, stone tools, fire, art, DNA, but none of those alone define us. Humanity wasn't born in a single place or moment. It was a slow dawn, 1,000 mornings, when curiosity met compassion. We became human when thought became love, when memory became legacy, when grief became story, when survival became meaning. It was never about domination or perfection. It was about connection. When our ancestors held their children, buried their dead, painted their walls, and shared their fire, they weren't just surviving evolution, they were transcending it. Every act of kindness, every discovery, every song sung into the night is a continuation of that turning point. We carry the same neurons that once sparked in the brain of a frightened mother clutching her newborn beside a fire 200,000 years ago. That spark still burns in every question we ask, in every story we tell, in every dream we chase beyond the stars. We are not the strongest creatures Earth ever made, but we are the ones who remember, the ones who imagine, the ones who care. That is our legacy, the fragile, eternal light of awareness. The day we became human never ended. It continues every time someone chooses empathy over fear, creation over destruction, understanding over ignorance. Look into the mirror tonight, and you'll see it. The flicker of that first fire glowing behind your eyes. You are made of memory. You are made of stories. You are made of the same spark that lit the night for our ancestors. And as long as that spark survives, the story of humanity will never truly go dark. If this story moved you, don't let it fade. Join us as we uncover more lost chapters of our origins, where fossils breathe and ancient hearts still beat beneath the dust. Subscribe to Prehistoric Shadows and walk with us through the firelight of our beginnings.